It's time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock, and it is time for episode 221 of the Ron and Brian Podcast. I am joined, as always, by my loving companion, Brian. Brian, how the hell are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing a lot better now that I can see your face.
No, you butter me up so much.
Oh, listen, Butters is, ever since Marlon Brando used it as lube in that movie back in the 70s, I mean, people have been, talking about butter in a most different light.
Understood. Brian, you had asked the question prior to us coming on the air, and I wasn't able to give you an answer. Ron, why is your background so different this week? Brian, there's no other way to say it. Monkeypox has come to Elkins Park. I want to just clarify, I do not have it, but there has been a potential exposure in the community, and therefore I am in the patented Ron and Brian containment bunker in my basement. We put this in during the pandemic. Little did we know how much we'd make use of it in the coming years. So hopefully I have all of your thoughts and prayers, and all we can do is just band together as a community and move forward.
Now, earlier in the weekend, we were talking, and you did mention that you did start to have some red bumps that were growing on your forearm. You were not sure if it was monkeypox. Did you go seek medical attention? How are they doing? You seem confident that you don't have it, so I'm assuming you got a clean bill of health from the doctor. But the red bumpy area, have you figured out what that is?
I did not seek medical attention. I, of course, turned to the internet, and I heated up some Robitussin and slapped it on there. And that seems to have knocked whatever that was out. So I'm feeling pretty good.
That makes me so happy to hear, because
I know it does.
The world is not right if you are not well.
So hopefully, I think the sound is okay. It's a little different than the usual office setting, but again, all we can do is move forward and be the best Ron and Brian that we can be.
What's most impressive about your background is that there's people out there on the internet who have downloaded a similar picture and are using that as their background for Zoom calls. But that's your reality. That was, a lot of people have asked, hey, listen, where does my Patreon money go when I subscribe to the Ron and Brian podcast? And listen, we've spoken about it ad nauseum. Ron is a 51% owner of the podcast. Ron is able to make all decisions related to the disbursement of the Patreon money. I've not seen any of it this calendar year. Ron said that it was going towards improvements. It's nice to know exactly where it's going.
Listen, I think it's important, since I bring the sex appeal to the podcast. I think my lighting here is important, which is why I think you'll notice the lighting is a little bit better. And obviously, I have taken that money. I've hired a decorator, whereas, Brian, you seem to be still going for a very minimalist look in your background.
Of course. Well, after the Legionnaires were in my building, after the monkeypox was in my building, after the what was it? It wasn't Zima. What was that disease that was around a couple of years ago, where the kids were coming out with the elongated heads?
Oh, what was that?
It wasn't Zima.
It was Zika. It was the Zika virus. Yes,
that was it. On the sixth floor of my building, Zika was just rampant. So basically the CDC came in. Anything that was of an absorbent material, absolutely. They rented some dumpsters, came in. The men in black suits came in, took all of my stuff basically and threw it out. So okay. What you see left here is basically concrete furniture and this chair.
All right. I also have my emotional support cat, Guacamole, is down here at my legs, being annoying as he usually is. So if you hear me cry out in pain, it's because he's either bitten me or slashed me with his nails. He just loves too hard.
And if you are interested in adopting guacamole, Ron, do you want to pick guacamole up, or are you afraid
I mean,
for your
let
body?
me give it a shot. He's a chunky boy.
He is a chunky boy, but you've been working out. Guacamole is available for fostering and adoption. This is, look at that little.
There's my boy.
Look at
that face. A face.
That has terrorized your home.
He has. He's a good single cat household cat. Is all I'll say about that. All right, Brian. Well, let's we've pandered to the crowd enough. Let's get really deep into the show and start things off with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Sláinte.
Prost.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian, what are you drinking this week?
Oh, this week, once again, the purge of the beer fridge. We're going, this is a beer I had a couple weeks ago. This is from Montclair Brewery in the great state of New Jersey. If there's a malted hoppy beverage coming from a state that has the most industrial waste sites in the Union, great New Jersey, I'm going to drink that beer. You're looking at Buzz Ale. In the honor of Montclair, hometown hero Buzz Aldrin, Montclair Brewery released a Belgium-style blonde ale to commemorate Buzz Aldrin's supposed landing on the moon. Was he on the moon, or did he just float around it? We'll never know. We'll never care. But we also know, don't ever ask Buzz Aldrin about it, because he'll punch you in the fucking face.
He
Here
will.
you go. Look at this beautiful blonde color. This reminds me when I was in junior high school. I was going to say something, and I just realized it was going in a very wrong direction. I didn't like it. I'm just going to shut up the lips. I'm going to open them up instead for some beer.
A rare time, Brian using his internal filter to not say something that would get him in trouble. Oh, going back for a second sip on the Buzz Ale. You must like it. Talk to me, my friend.
I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't describe it as crushable.
Okay.
This is not a beer that I would tell people is ideal for hot podcaster summer.
I feel like I let you down each time I...
Hot Podcaster Summer.
But considering that it's Sunday night, we are recording this. My air conditioner was recently shut off for noise purposes. I'm in a cool climate. I'm not looking to slam, a Pilsner or a light lager. Doing an ale, a blonde ale, Buzz Ale from
Nice.
Montclair Brewery. Ron,
Yes.
you are in your dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you have a plethora of options, just mere steps from where you're sitting right now.
I mean, the beer
Ron-
fridge is over in this direction. You can't see it on camera, but it is literally just feet from me. And trying something new from our old friends at Fegley's Brewworks out of Pittston, Pennsylvania. This is a little something that they call Weird Kids on the Block. This is a hazy and juicy IPA with pineapples and mangoes. This is clocking in at a solid 6.8%. Let's see. I mean, it's got a nice little body to it. It does look a little bit hazy, a little less hazy than the hazy pale ale I had last week. But let's take a sip and see how it is.
He's taking a sip. Pinky is on the glass. Normally he goes pinky up.
Ooh.
Normally he does do a pinky. Well, hold on, he's coming back, and I think the pinky is off. Ron, if I have to predict it, I'm going to say Ron likes his beer.
It is good. It is, for an IPA, it is not too hoppy, and you really do get the taste of the pineapple and the mango. Again, I would not quite call it crushable since you're pushing like a 7% IPA, but something that's definitely refreshing during Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
Sorry, I had to redeem myself there. Ew. I got sounds all over the place now. They've really upgraded this whole StreamYard thing.
Well, the thing is that you have to use them and be ready to use them
I do.
when they're required. Like when I said Ron likes his beer, I was expecting
I like
here,
beer.
Supreme. Nice.
Nice.
If that's the only thing missing are some hot buttons where I can hit and not have to click and play. That's the only thing that's a little slow.
Well, I think that's when you introduce a third laptop to the studio, to the
Might
home
have to.
studio. And I think all we need are a couple more people to sign up for Patreon, and you will be able to invest in a new MacBook Pro with the new A7 chip.
We're close. We're very close. We'll talk about our Patreon and our After Dark a little bit later in the show.
Sure.
But needless to say, tonight is a night that you don't want to miss. But in the meantime, time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
What's bothering me this week? It's my deltoid ligament in my right ankle.
That's
my beef of the week.
What is the deltoid ligament?
If you were to run your finger just under your ankle bone
Okay.
in a circular motion, right as if like that crescent shaped
Yeah.
round area right
Yep.
under that soft material you're feeling right there, that's your deltoid ligament.
Interesting.
And after about 2 months of looking at my ankle, look at this. William Esquire already inquiring, is that the ankle that was swollen a few weeks ago? Yes, I did put up with it for about, I would say, almost 2 months of a swollen ankle, an ankle that hurt when I woke up, an ankle that if I wasn't walking around frequently would kind of give me some pain. And the diagnosis is an aggravated deltoid ligament in my right ankle. I was provided a anti-inflammatory cream.
And how did that go?
I haven't used it yet. Still in the box. And otherwise, she said, limit the amount of weight that I'm putting on it, which I took as just a reference to that I'm fat.
It sounds like she was fat shaming you a little bit.
And she also said I should not be using my standing desk at work. I should be sitting down, which I actually started to get it quite comfortable with over the past week and digging it. Kind of digging sitting down, you know?
All right.
I'm getting there. Ron,
Yes.
tell me you have something of true value that is bothering you, that is upsetting you, that is causing you rage.
I do. Well, there's many things causing me rage this week. I mean, obviously, monkeypox close to the top of the list. But Brian and I don't want to get. Wow, this is a little hateful comment. First, Janelle calling you Tubby. Wow. Well, there's a beef now when friends do you dirty like that. But anyway, my beef this week, Brian, is all the people out there that are complaining that there is a portion of the population that had $10,000 of their student debt relieved this past week. There are people that either paid off their student loan or mommy and daddy paid for school or they never went to college, and they're pissing and moaning because people got something that they didn't. And I think it speaks to the larger issue of the problem within our country is no one can be happy for anybody else. And let's be perfectly honest. For many people, waiving 10 grand in student loan debt is a drop in a bucket for them. You've got people out there with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debts. But what this does do, hopefully, is free up some money that can be put back into the economy. And, the same people that will get pissed off at a $10,000 of a student loan being relieved are fine with, the wealthy not paying taxes, are fine with, corporate tax breaks, which will trickle down to people. No, companies are just buying back stock at record levels. So, and if anyone from our generation or older are complaining to younger people who had their debt forgiven, I want you younger people to feel comfortable enough to tell us to fuck all the way off. Because how much was a semester of college back when we went to school, Brian?
I don't know why, but I want to say like $3 or $4 grand, maybe.
And I didn't live on campus, so it was $1,500 for a semester. I had a little over $6,000 in student loan debt when I graduated back in 1993. And then again, the dollar, the money I was making back then made it relatively simple. And I wasn't making a lot of money when I got out of college, but
Sure.
it was still enough for me to be able to have an apartment, have a car, pay off my student loan debt. The younger generation this day don't have, it's going to be a reach for them to have a sustainable lifestyle.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. $10,000, is, it sounds like a lot of money to somebody from our generation. But if you are a 24-year-old recent college graduate, you're looking at 6 figures of college debt. 10
Right.
grand is really not having much of an impact. And yet, for some reason, it has caused rage on the right in terms of the government covering the costs of some lefty from Portland, Oregon, and their philosophy degree. The thing that you touched on, and I think it's the biggest issue that I have with all of this is it's basically that the government pays for a whole slew of things, and nobody is outraged about it.
Right.
We are sending billions of dollars to Ukraine for them to fight a war with Russia. Nobody's really complaining about it. We are spending trillions of dollars on a military when there really isn't any major wars going on, that the American military is fighting or should be fighting. More importantly, we haven't had a war that we should have fought since, if I'm not correct, World War II. Do the math.
I'd say that's a fair statement.
How much money has the government taken of your tax dollars and spent on wars? How much corporate welfare has there been? How much, you look at all the coronavirus pandemic aid that the government just threw at corporations with, before there was any real sense of, is this necessary? Do we need to do this? It was such a transfer of wealth that took place between, just a few short months in early 2020 when corporations immediately were receiving, trillions of dollars of aid from the government. When we say from the government, what it really is it's your tax dollars. That's the source of revenue that the government has. They're not, they're not winning the lottery. They're not opening a lemonade stand on the corner.
Right.
They're taking your tax dollars. So, nobody was complaining about any of this. But now that Biden has gotten up there and done 10,000, which is really a small amount.
Oh, a drop in the bucket.
And the one thing, and you mentioned it to me earlier this week, and I probably would have missed it, was the White House Twitter account. Literally, I don't remember what night it was this past week, but they lit up all these Republicans that were the Republican Congress people, men and women, who were complaining about the government loans for the being forgiven for student debt. And the White House Twitter account immediately said, well, here is how much money of your government loans that your company accepted and was forgiven from the PPP program.
And fun fact, Brian, the woman that runs the the White House Twitter account up until last month ran the Twitter account for the state of New Jersey.
Really?
Which was a very sassy Twitter account. So I appreciate that she's bringing that to the White House. But yeah, you look at it, and I think what people don't realize is it's not a lot of money. And I also didn't realize the federal government holds 92% of all student debt. 92%. 92% of all student debt is owned by the federal government.
Hold on. Do they own it, or is it done through the banks? Because that was another
done through
theory.
the banks, but it's guaranteed by the federal government.
So
they
don't own it.
They could wipe away 92% of student debt.
No, it doesn't work that way. My understanding, and tell me if my understanding is this, is that the banks hold the loans. If the student doesn't pay, the federal government steps in and pays that loan.
Right.
But the money still has to be paid.
The money still has to be paid. Correct.
A lot of the things I've read is that this basically is another cash grab by banks.
Oh, without a doubt.
Basically, what the banks did was they reached out. They lobbied the government for this because now they are guaranteed to get paid $10,000 from every student that's got a loan. You're looking at these 92, what is it, 92%?
92%.
Like, this is, once again, these kids are not necessarily the benefactors of this. It is the banks. And we all know, so we've spoken about this so much on this show, how much I fucking hate the banks, how they have such control over this country. Not even just the financial system of it, but the government, society as a whole. The banks are getting their money. This isn't just like, they're vilifying the actual student who attended college, but nobody is touching upon the idea that these banks are getting their $10,000 per loan as a guarantee right now. The money is going into the banks and they're just profiting more. Remind me, I'm going to buy some JP Morgan stock next week. I think that would be a good idea.
Well, and two additional points, because again, I don't want to go off on too much of a rant on this, but
I think I just did. I'm sorry.
You did.
I took
That's
the
fine.
beef.
But if it happen, I mean, what people don't realize is if this puts some disposable income in the pockets of these people that have these student loans, that's going to go back into their local community. They're going to spend it on rent. They're going to spend it on restaurants. They're going to spend it on gas. So if you work in a community where a bunch of people have gotten student debt relief, that helps you. That helps your business. That helps you. The other thing is, it was kind of the least that Joe Biden could do in giving money back. It still doesn't fix the issues of the cost of higher education, which is ridiculous. Like, I was even I pulled up Albany State, which you and I went to. Mm-hmm. So if you are a New York State resident, how much do you think a year of college with tuition, fees, housing, and a meal plan cost you per year, in-state resident, going to a state university in New York at Albany?
I'm going to say $18,000 a year.
$26,000. So even if you go to a state school and you live in that state and you have to live there, it will cost you over $100,000 to attend that college. If you are a out-of-state resident, that number jumps to $44,000 a year.
Okay.
I mean, it's insane.
What are you gonna do? I mean, it's good for them, good for the kids. You know what? I'm not upset whatsoever by this.
Like, I almost feel like we're at a point in society where if we found a cure for cancer today, there would be a group of people that would be generally upset that people's lives were being saved where maybe their friends or family had died of cancer.
Of course.
Like, that's where I feel we're at.
Well, my grandmother died of cancer, so should yours. Like,
right.
Literally, I mean, but that goes back to, the point of, like, we are now a society of hateful people, which is the fact that if anybody else is getting a benefit that we identify with as at our level, we're outraged by it. When Elon Musk gets government support to open up a missile factory, we cheer that. We call that entrepreneurism. We call that the spirit of, of the American economy. When Joe Schmo, who lives down the block, gets free prescriptions at the local CVS, we literally scream at him as if he's receiving welfare and should be hung up in the street by his ankles and flogged and then drawn and quartered and then tarred and feathered.
Sounds about right. Brian, the only thing I think that caused more outrage this week than student loan forgiveness was the guy at the New York Yankees game that turned his hot dog into a straw. We have a little bit of video here. If you're listening at home, obviously it won't matter. But here's the gentleman using an actual straw to poke a hole through the center of his hot dog. He then places said hot dog into that's a $24 New York Yankee Stadium beer, and then he drinks his beer through the hot dog straw he has created.
So he puts the straw throughout the whole hot dog? Because
yes.
That is the part that it looked like he just made a little...
I think it looked like he went through like as much as he could on one side and then broke through on the other side, and then turned it into a hot dog straw.
Can I make a suggestion?
You can. I would love to hear a suggestion.
There is a baseball game coming up in the Bronx. I believe it is Friday, September 9th.
Wait, is that Derek Jeter Hall of Fame night?
That is Derek Jeter Hall of Fame night.
Okay.
We need to get there early because I want my Derek Jeter replica Hall of Fame plaque.
Makes sense. First 40,000 fans, I believe, get that.
If I don't get it, I will be pissed. Okay, I'm proposing that you and I, before we bash this man,
Okay.
we try what he is doing.
All
Because I'm
right.
going to tell you something. What is more American than a beer at a baseball game? What is
Not
more
much.
American than a hot dog at a baseball game?
And if you think about it, it's a solid flex on this man's part. Because again, that beer easily was $25. That
course.
hot dog was probably $15? He just took that
Unless,
bun.
hold on. But he may not have been sitting in section 29. He may have had to actually go out and buy that hot dog.
That's what I'm saying. He probably paid about $40
Sure.
to turn that hot dog into a straw. One of the baseball shows, the commentators replicated that, and across the board, I don't think anyone enjoyed it.
But would you be willing to do that?
I mean, I think maybe we try it. We do a home test. Because again, I don't want to ruin a $25 beer if it's not going to be good.
Hold on a second. We do a home test and we videotape it. We
Right.
videotape our home test. Okay, people, this is what we're going to do. Between now and next week, Ron and I are each going to videotape ourselves drinking a beer through a hot dog. Next week, we will come back and air those video clips.
All right. And you know, the only thing better than having a beer with a hot dog straw, Brian, is when you wash it down with a hot dog flavored popsicle. Thanks to our friends at Oscar Mayer, the popsicle, dubbed the Cold Dog, is being sold for $2 at Pop Bar locations in New York City, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Long Beach. Brian, I know you would not go out and have the mustard donut. Will you find a Pop Bar location in New York City and have a Cold Dog?
I'm looking it up right now.
Apparently, so it visibly, as you can see with the photo on the screen, it resembles a hot dog topped with mustard and has apparently smoky umami notes of Oscar Mayer's iconic wiener. Now, this is the funny part is apparently Oscar Mayer has a social media campaign called Stupid or Genius, and apparently thousands of people voted that a hot dog flavored popsicle was genius. Do you think people actually voted it was genius, or just voted it was genius to see if they would be stupid enough to actually produce this thing?
Oh, I think they did it just to see if they were stupid enough to do it. I mean, let's be real. I'm trying to see where in New York City this is being sold, and I do not see any locations. But I'm gonna keep this browser open, and I'm gonna hunt it down because I would at least give it a shot.
Yeah. Now sticking with baseball, Brian, did you catch the Oakland A's game the other night?
Are we talking about the game when the Yankees won, or are you talking about the game where the Yankees lost?
No, I am talking about the game where apparently a couple of fans may have participated in a sex act in the stadium. Again, pulling up a photo here.
I don't see this. I don't see a sex act here, and I know what they're trying to imply.
Right.
You see a man sitting in the last row, and what appears to be a woman sitting on the back of this seat from the row in front of him, and she appears to be at the height level where she could be resting her head affectionately in his lap.
And this was actually the game that Oakland had against the Mariners on Sunday. So clearly not a full house, in a completely empty section. They're in the top row of the stadium. So now apparently the Oakland Police Department are looking into this. However, they have not been able to identify any suspects. The violation would be lewd acts in public, however. Which, again, to your point, I don't know, like, if you were to actually identify these two people, unless they have photos that haven't made the news, I don't know that this is enough evidence to gain a conviction in any court of law.
Like, it's very possible that she dropped a contact lens on the floor, and he does not want to help her find it.
Right. So during this game, which Oakland eventually won 5-3, a fan in attendance tweeted a video, but again, I don't know that the video showed much more, but if charged and convicted, the couple could face up to 6 months in jail and a fine of $1,000.
Yeah, I don't. I don't see anything here that is a true sign that a crime was committed.
Yeah, and again, even if it was, it feels like a victimless crime to me. Like, I mean,
I'm going to say that if this is what people are saying, I don't. Not only do I not see a crime here, but I see that this is an act of two people who were very much in love with each other.
And if anything, I think you blame the A's for not putting a better product on the field where you would actually want to pay attention to the game.
Sure. I mean, well, let me put it to you this way. I mean, what I find most interesting is if you look at they've got the entire section to themselves.
Right. I mean, well,
You
and
know?
and that's
I mean-
probably why they can't identify them. I doubt they purchased those tickets. They probably purchased other tickets and said, hey, no one's sitting up top there. Why don't we go up there and have some quality alone time together?
Also, I think if you look at the attendance numbers for the Oakland A's over the past few years, I think that, if Oakland can get, if Oakland can get a reputation that their stadium is a place where you can go for a beer, for a hot dog, for baseball, for BJ's. I mean, I think it would drive up attendance. I think that, if they said, listen, come to our stadium, enjoy the game, get some head, I think it's a win-win for everyone. I think it would drive ticket sales.
I mean, you may have something there. Moving on, we have more, well, I'm not going to call it great video, but it's certainly interesting video of a gentleman who got up to speak at a school board meeting in Dallas, attacking the LGBTQ community.
Keep winning, baby. Do it. Embrace simple truths. There's only two genders, and boys should go to boys' rooms, girls should go to girls' restrooms. And guess what? Teachers shouldn't be forced to use your freaking made-up fantasy pronouns. Fight like hell. Hold the line against the LGBT mafia and their dang pedo fans. Keep winning. You know what? Keep the winning. They can keep the monkeypox. How's that working? In fact, keep winning so much, we'll keep coming. You know what? We're going to keep coming so hard, the only thing these woketards got to figure out is whether it's on their face, back, butt, or thighs. Woo! Get some! Thank you.
Woo! Come get some. If Ricky Bobby were an actual overweight Dallas school father.
It sounds like at first it sounds like he actually believes what he's saying.
Oh yeah.
And then it sounds like he's just putting on a performance. But I will say this is America.
It is.
You and I are two East Coast, people who we live in a different world than this guy. This guy appears to enjoy a rack of ribs. It looks like he may enjoy a couple racks of ribs. I mean, you and I would never wear a camouflage trucker hat.
Yeah.
I also, we don't have goatees. He looks like he is a high school football coach. He looks like he would be willing to work a player into dehydration stroke.
He looks like a man who has downed a few Applebee's Dollaritas.
He looks like a man who has thrown his wife across the living room for overcooking his steak.
He looks like a man who is afraid of drinking his beer through a hot dog in public because it looks too phallic.
He looks like a man who no longer is afraid to attend Kid Rock concerts.
He looks like a man who goes to Waffle House and uses a coupon.
He looks like the kind of man that is that thinks that going to Nashville is fancy.
He looks like the kind of guy that has an American flag themed baseball cap for every day of the week and every special holiday.
This man has an eagle tattoo on his chest.
More than likely.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I forget, and I forgot to look at it again when watching the video, but like the guy behind him has like some sort of T-shirt also that they're like a Patriot Army. So I'm sure the guy behind him is joining the fight as well. But yeah, this is the level of stupid we have in the country.
We were talking about earlier. This is the guy that's screaming about the $10,000 that the government is giving to the banks for student loans. He is screaming about this. He is enraged by this because when he dropped out of high school in the 11th grade, he didn't get no fancy government loan for $10,000. Yes, Janelle just nailed it right here. Another appearance. He masturbates to Aaron Lewis music.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Now, I masturbate to Martin and Lewis comedy skits, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, they were classic, without a doubt.
Hey, lady!
More news impacting the LGBTQ community. A GOP candidate in Oklahoma is getting attention for comments he made several years ago where he justified the death penalty by stoning for gay people. This is Scott Esk, 56, is running in the Republican primary election for a seat in the state house. In 2013, apparently, he was commenting in a Facebook conversation about the Pope, saying that he couldn't judge gay people. Esk posted some Bible quotations, including the part of Romans 1, where the Bible says that a long list of people who sinned is worthy of death. And when asked about it a year later, doubled down, said it's totally just to kill gay people. Still has not backed away from it. So these, again, it's Oklahoma, so you're not shocked, but you have to wonder why red states tolerate this kind of thing. And I get it, because a lot of them are ignorant.
Yeah, but it genuinely, and this is the part that I think is most troubling to not just, the current state of America, but the future, is that we seem to be swinging into this direction of anti-education, where it is, it is more admirable to scream about how you feel than to learn a fact and be and make a decision based on the knowledge that you have. It's just wild to me. It's just wild how uneducated we are celebrating in so many parts of this country. It's so sad and scary. Just reminds me that I need to stay on the coast.
And there's such an attack on education. I mean, again, It is being a teacher right now, as much of a thankless job as it was before. It's become an even more thankless job.
Now you're a groomer. Now you're a groomer
with all these laws being passed about CRT and LGBTQ. You could get sued by parents for things that you teach in the high school. People are allowed to ban books. Now they're just in Florida. They're just, you're a veteran. Okay, you can be a school teacher now. Hey, you don't have to pass a college or have a degree or whatever. It's ridiculous. It's what's the word I'm looking for, Brian? Ludicrous. It's depressing and ludicrous.
It's just so depressing.
What is also depressing is this next video that I'm going to play. This gentleman is a representative from South Carolina, Neil Collins. Not surprising, since he is a GOP person, that he voted. Yes.
Now, was he the drummer for Genesis?
He was not. You're thinking of Phil Collins. This is Neil Collins. No relation, I don't believe.
So he's not the guy who was waiting in the night?
No.
For this moment, for my life.
This was at a recent state hearing. Representative Collins, who voted for an anti-abortion heartbeat bill, came to realize that maybe what they did was not in the best interest of some women out there. So let's hear this revelation that Representative Collins came to.
I voted for the pain-capable bill, the fetal heartbeat bill, and fetal heartbeat has been for 6 weeks now. The second week that the fetal heartbeat bill became law, a doctor called me out of Anderson. I live in Easley. a 19-year-old girl appeared at the ER. She was 15 weeks pregnant. Her water broke. And the fetus was unviable. The standard of care was to advise her that they could extract or she could go home. The attorneys told the doctors that because of the fetal heartbeat bill, because that 15-week-old had a heartbeat, the doctors could not extract. So their only choices were to admit the 19-year-old until that fetal heartbeat stopped. I asked, how long does it take to stop? She said seconds, minutes, hours, maybe days. Or discharge. They discharged that 19-year-old. The doctor told me at that point there's a 50% chance. Well, first, she's going to pass this fetus in the toilet. She's going to have to deal with that on her own. There's a 50% chance, greater than 50% chance that she's going to lose her uterus. There's a 10% chance that she will develop sepsis and herself die. That weighs on me. I voted for that bill. These are affecting people, and we're having a meeting about this. It took that whole week, I did not sleep.
So first, I think, Brian, you'll agree with me in telling Representative Collins to,
Sure.
again, fuck all the way off. Because these are thoughts and discussions that should have been had prior to passing the bill.
Correct.
And, again, for the quote-unquote pro-life party, again, now you've got a woman who might die. Now you've got a woman who's got a 50% or greater chance of never being able to reproduce again. But also think about that. You now have a young woman, 19 years old, who had to walk around for whatever period of time knowing that she had a dying baby inside of her and knowing that she was going to pass her dead unborn child at home.
Oh, fuck.
And that because of the laws of her state, doctors could not do anything for her.
I literally have nothing to say. I literally cannot, in any rational state of mind, say something here that adequately describes my sense of outrage at how the right has jumped on the bandwagon of endangering the welfare of women for the sake of being able to claim to a small base of their electorate that they are pro-life. It is so fucking sad. It's one thing to sit there and say we're anti-abortion, but you've got a woman who's got a dead baby inside of her,
right,
and she's unable to get medical care because of the legislation that was so hastily passed. Like, that's the thing that, was so amazing, is the fact that, there was no discussion, there was no debate. It was, how quickly can we rush through this legislation, and can we put out a piece of a bill that is more stringent than what the previous state put out? Because we want to have the most stringent anti-abortion laws, in the country. I'm going to say once again, I'm so just fucking glad that I live on a educated coast. That this is a fucking America. And this guy coming out and saying, hold on a second, I voted for something, and now that I actually have information in front of me, I regret that vote. This guy's going to be voted out of power next time he's up for re-election, because he stepped out of the party dialogue. He actually thought for himself and not just did what he was told he was supposed to do.
Right, and I'll agree with Allie's comment here that she's proud of him because learning, and she says learning and adjusting your stance takes character, and I will agree with that. Like, he could have easily had this discussion behind closed doors, and to your point. And again, kind of the scary comment on the state of America, it is probably political career suicide that he came out and made these comments. Because again, there's an argument, obviously, regarding abortion, whether it is the murder of a child or not. You can be diametrically opposed to that statement, but you would have to think that there are situations like this 19-year-old woman. There are situations like the 10-year-old girl in Ohio that had to go to another state to have an abortion after she was raped and became pregnant. You would think that there are situations that everybody can be on the same page with. But apparently not, because apparently there are probably people that are going to push back and say we don't need to adjust this heartbeat bill at all because of a few cases that go outside of the norm.
They're going to say that somehow he's absolutely wrong for this.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That suddenly, they're going to. Well, this is the thing. I mean, this is the state of what we do. It's just you conveniently, absolutely, just ignore any facts, any piece of information that don't fit within the dialogue that is going on in your head. You just flat out reject it. You ignore it. You act like it's not true, and you steam forward with the belief in the facts that you have. I mean, this guy is 2 degrees off of that hillbilly who was screaming about monkeypox and the LGBTQ pedo mafia. Like, they're not that far apart from each other, which is just, these are people who have been living their lives, and the sad fact is that they are in power and have real influence on the day-to-day life of other people. That these are people who are just absolutely living their life on pure emotion and are not educated on facts. Now, don't get me wrong, I am so far from being educated. I am so far from knowing everything, but I'm smart enough to know when I don't have a fucking comment in the dialogue. When the conversation should be taking place amongst people that are truly involved in what's going on, and I should just step aside and keep my mouth shut because it's not about me. This shit is just truly depressing about America.
Well,
but you know what?
Yes. No, I was going to say I was going to depress you some more if that's okay.
Please.
I wanted to ask your thoughts on corporal punishment in schools.
Now, I once saw a movie where there was a girl in class and she hadn't done her homework.
Right.
And the teacher told her that she had to stay after class.
Now, was this real quick? I just want to pause for a moment. Was the teacher kind of a tall, muscular, bald man?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Was his name perhaps Johnny Sins?
He was Professor Sins.
Oh, okay.
He was Professor Sins at the time. And the girl, the female student, was in danger of failing the class.
Right.
And she had just, she told a very quick story that it felt like she was just reading off of something that these, emotionally, I did not sense that she really believed the words she was saying. But I mean, I was along for the ride at that point. But she told this story about how, she was, working in her family's restaurant and, didn't have time to do her studies, but she needed to graduate, and this class was going to be the make or break, and she would just do anything so as not to fail the class. And what he did was he started off with I'm gonna
put a pin in that real quick. Did you see this on like a national network on CNN, or was this perhaps on Pornhub?
I don't know that it was on Pornhub, but it was definitely on an internet site. I remember having to enter my credit card information, which I thought was very strange considering that I was looking for news sites.
Well, Brian, again, I'm going to put another pin in that. Value your
which is
input.
Odd because in that scene, Professor Sins actually did put a pin in the girl.
I value your input, but maybe we can discuss this after dark. Maybe that would be more.
Sure.
But the reason I ask is because Cassville School District in southwest Missouri has recently reinstated corporal punishment in its schools. And parents can have the option of opting in or out. Apparently in June, the school board approved a written policy, once again allowing spanking in schools, but only as a last resort and with written permission from parents. And apparently getting a lot of support from parents.
because they, oh my God, listen, this is the thing. And this is what drives me so fucking crazy. Nothing changes. We have the same fucking conversations week in, week out. School is not a place to parent your children. You should be being parents. And this is another example of, I don't want to have to educate my children on correct behavior. So I'm going to send them to school where I'm going to put the burden on the teacher. And lo and behold, I mean, like they're just going to vilify that first teacher who gets an erection from spanking the kid. I mean, they're going to make that poor man, so regret, just becoming an educator, when all he's doing is following what the parents are telling him to do.
So one thing I did not realize, 1977, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that school corporate punishment was constitutional, and they left it the decision to permit it up to each state. And there are 19 states in this country that allow corporate punishment in schools. Corporal punishment, excuse me. Would you like a rundown of the states, Brian? Because I don't think any of them are going to surprise you.
If any of them are above the Mason-Dixon line, I will be surprised. Let's go.
So let's see here. So a run through Missouri we just mentioned, because that's where this story is from. Arkansas, Kansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Wyoming.
Okay.
And also, Brian, a quick story about a California man who has been busted for felony child abuse after he brawled with a 13-year-old boy in a video that went viral. Reagan Coultis, age 46, was arrested on Tuesday for a fight that was caught on camera outside of a convenience store in Valencia a week earlier. The footage caught the 13-year-old being pinned to the ground, seemingly trying to use a jiu-jitsu-style armbar to defend himself before switching to a headlock when they stood. So I guess between the corporal punishment story and this story, it begs the question, Brian, should you be able to kick a kid's ass if they deserve it?
Yes, but it shouldn't be institutionalized. It should not be institutionalized. It should basically be on a case-by-case basis. I don't believe that schools should be spanking. What is corporal punishment specifically? Like, is it defined differently in different states? Like
that, I don't know.
Is it hand on buttock spanking? Is it ruler on knuckle?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a physical punishment of some sort. I would assume the laws, either the laws or the school districts, are left to decide how that punishment is administered.
I can only imagine the shit they're going to come up with in Florida.
I mean, they probably throw your kid to a gator. Like, oh, Tommy didn't do his division.
Be like, oh, you're gonna be used for child labor. You're gonna work over at Mar-a-Lago doing some landscaping for free, for Republicans to enjoy a game of golf.
You came back late from recess, so you got to go protect the closet with the national secrets for a week.
There's a safe in there, boy. Make sure nobody touches it.
I will say I went to a Catholic school until I was in first grade, and I did have a nun break a yardstick over my back one time.
Now, is that why you asked your wife to dress up as a nun?
That was a little different.
No, that was for Halloween, correct?
Right, exactly. So I still remember it clearly. It was Sister Teresa. She was about 90 years old, weighed about 80 pounds. And we were cutting up construction paper and we were gluing it, doing a little art project. And apparently, I accidentally dropped a piece of construction paper with glue on it. It fell glue side down, and she was like, "Pick that up." And when I swung out of my desk to pick it up, I accidentally stepped down on the piece of paper, which I guess she felt was I did on purpose. And as I'm still leaning down, she, I guess, just tried to hit me across the back with the yardstick, swung apparently a little too hard, and broke it across my back. Now, she hit me in the meaty part because I was a stocky kid. So thankfully it did not hurt as much as it probably would have like a skinnier kid.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I never had anything like that happen to me at school, but it was obviously because I knew how to, properly handle a piece of construction paper that had glue on it. I mean, I remember,
Well, listen,
once you applied the Elmer's glue to the back of the construction paper, I mean, you were basically a MacGruber, like working on a nuclear weapon.
Listen, you went to fancy Stuyvesant High School, where I believe they cut the paper for you. Your butler cut the paper. Your maid applied the glue for you. So I get it.
Sure.
I get it. Before we run out of time, we don't do This Week in Racism anymore, but we had a story that was so horrible that we had to share it. Let me pull up a photo of the couple in question. This is, the woman on the left is Mary Nicosia. And that's her husband on the right. I forget what his name is. But she is accused of throwing a racist Juneteenth party a couple of months back after reportedly decorating her lawn with buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken and also serving Hennessy. A black firefighter that worked for the city of Rochester, New York, where this party took place. He has filed a notice to sue the city and its fire department earlier this month because his boss took him to Nicosio's party while he was on duty. Now, the captain has since retired before he could be investigated and fired. But the couple here had a press conference on Tuesday to defend themselves from what they said were false claims of racism. And after she said that, she said, quote, "But before I do that, in full disclosure, I do have a Twitter parody account that operates under the veil of a persona, and I've made blatantly racist comments under that persona." And I think you and I both saw some of the tweets from that Twitter account, which I would not even share on the show because they are that god-awful. She said the racist tweets were just part of, quote, the culture of Twitter, even claiming that it was part of its charm. So she of course apologized to the African American community, and her lawyer displayed a invitation for the party saying it was called the first annual liberal smashin' splish splash pool party, said that it was intended to mock liberals, and was about politics and not race.
Okay, sure. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just listen, I live in a bubble. There's no denying it. I live in a bubble. I'm not exposed to this level of just abject bigotry that seems to be so accepted amongst American society once, in certain areas of this country. To me, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. The level of comfort that Americans, even, in today's day and age, are comfortable just, expressing hate towards other groups of people. This is America. This is the America we live in. This is how Trump got elected. These are the people that he tapped into with the views that he expressed. And when you think about it, he never really expressed anything that was that outrageous. He was just a politician that didn't stand up there and say, I want to represent everyone.
Right. He didn't sugarcoat it like so many politicians had done in the past.
Yeah, he got up there and just said, listen, there are groups of people that I don't think belong in this country. But he didn't. He never delivered this message of hate that seems to be so prevalent in this country.
And a great comment by Billy. Gene Kramer would not throw a racist Juneteenth party. I do yearn for the days of simpler racism like we had, the subtle racism of a Gene Kramer, for example.
Sure.
But this is just, and again, I'm not quite sure the level of, I don't know if it's stupidity, the level of arrogance, where you would hold a press conference to say, listen, my party wasn't racist, but hey, in full disclosure, this other thing I was doing may look really racist, but it's not. It's parody.
I imagine somebody said to her, listen, they already know about it. It's the only reason you make that. Like these are the people that have learned from Trump's playbook of deny, deny, deny. Even once they've proven it's your home IP address, deny that it's you. Sit there and say that somebody must have hacked into your Wi-Fi. Like, unless there's photographic evidence of her typing that tweet, there's no reason for her to admit it. I don't understand it.
And the husband there was, during this press conference, crying, saying, I've worked 63 years to build up my reputation, and in minutes it was destroyed. Well, it was destroyed for a good fucking reason, because you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. And your wife is a bigger piece of shit.
Yeah.
Look at this. Janelle with the comment, Brian, with those big brains. I mean,
Now, is she just saying that you have big brains, like your brains are tubby, like the rest of you, like she said earlier?
Wow.
I think that's where she's going. I think it's one of those backhanded compliments where you think that she's saying something nice to you, but she's really just reinforcing the fat shaming that she did earlier in the episode.
I don't know. It still hurts.
It does, as it should.
I may never forgive her.
As it should. That's who it was. Oh, thank you, Billy. She looks like Kellyanne Conway. Perfect comment. I was like, she looks like another hateful white woman that I've seen. Crypt keeper like blonde woman. Nailed it.
Yep, nailed it.
Brian, I know you love to talk about the Patreon.
Sure.
Can you tell some people, first of all, if you want to join the Patreon, you go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. You click in the upper right-hand corner where it says Become a Patron, starting at $5. But what you really want to do is get in at the $10 level, because that gives you access to After Dark. Brian, talk to us about After Dark.
Okay. So, what is it that we can do for people who...
Because there's been a lot of hate on this episode. So how can we elevate and make your night better? How can you finish on a high note here?
All right. Well, what you can do as somebody who is watching this live, who is watching this at a later time, streaming on YouTube, as someone who is listening as an audio podcast, how can you help this show? It's our Patreon. It is at patreon.com/Ron and Brian podcast. Excuse me, the Ron and Brian podcast. Yes, the Ron and Brian podcast. Once a month as a way for us to say thank you for helping support the show. We invite all of our Patreon subscribers at the 10 or more level. I believe that is that's not the infinity level, correct?
No, the infinity level is the $10,000 level.
Oh, that's right. I thought. Okay. See, so I believe it is the bronze level or higher at $10 a month. You get invited on the last Sunday of every month to come on the show to join Ron, to join Brian, to join us. Normally, we sit, we talk about issues, we talk about problems, we make suggestions, but not this month and not the last couple months.
Nope.
Because this month we will be playing Can You Beat Ron? Now, Ron is a man who I've always looked up to. He's a man that would put peanut butter on his rectum for his dogs to lick off. But more importantly, he is a man of just a vast knowledge of, it's almost an encyclopedic mind. Encyclopedia.
Yeah, that works.
Mind. Yes. When you are watching A Brilliant Mind, a lot of people saw mental illness, and I just saw a man who had Ron's brains, but didn't have his social acuity.
I believe the movie was called A Beautiful Mind.
What did I call it?
A Brilliant Mind.
Oh, no. That was a movie starring Johnny Sins, where he played a math professor who just suddenly was able to just do these very complex mathematical equations and would then have sex with his students.
Anyway, back to After Dark.
Yeah, so After Dark. So we're playing Can You Beat Ron? I will host the game. Basically, the podcast, we put up $25 to go towards your charity of choice. if you somehow are able to beat Ron at Can You Beat Ron? Usually it is a 10 multiple choice question quiz. If you get more correct at the end of it, Ron will actually, accept defeat, which is very rare.
I'm a poor loser. I won't lie.
Sure. And then we will, and then the show will make a donation in your name, in your honor, in your memory. Last month we were playing Do You Know Brian for my. It was a celebration of my birthday month. Previous months we've done horror tagline movies. We've done facts about showers. I mean, it's
been all over the place.
It's exciting, and you have a very good track record.
I've been doing okay.
Yes.
I hope. Hopefully, I can. I haven't been on a winning streak. It's kind of been win, lose, win, lose. So hopefully, I can keep this going.
Yes. So if you are a Patreon member at the bronze level higher, you should have received a link in your email address that you've registered with Patreon, and you will be able to join the show and play Can You Beat Ron?
All right. Well, Brian, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I think this was a pretty solid show for a Sunday night.
Absolutely. Oh, can I ask you a quick question?
Of course you can.
Ron, what are you watching?
Oh, well, first of all, can I say I mentioned the other week I've been watching Five Nights at Memorial on Apple TV, the story about Memorial Hospital during Katrina. Fifth episode dropped on Friday, and hands down, one of the toughest episodes of TV that I've ever watched.
Really?
Yes.
Is this the one where they were euthanizing people?
And animals.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a rough episode to watch. So I would recommend that. And then you and I, of course, we also watched the first episode of the Game of Thrones
House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. I gotta say, I liked it.
Yes.
What I liked about it, first off, they set up the timeline pretty quickly. Like, they didn't fuck around. They're like, all right, It's 172 years before the Game of Thrones.
Sure.
They set up the characters quickly, and they gave you, within that entire first episode, you've got the premise.
Yes.
You know how this, you know how they want this season to play out.
Sure.
A lot of shows you got to watch like 2, 3, 4 episodes to really get into it. I thought it was solid out of the gate. What did you think?
I felt it was entertaining. I think I'm going to have to watch several episodes to get emotionally invested in the characters.
Right.
I don't really feel any connection with any of them. I'm a little put off by the pulled black blonde hair that everybody has the same haircut on.
Fair.
Not an original comment. I've been reading that across the board, and as I watched the episode, I was just like, yes, everybody has the same haircut. I've been reading that there was a lot of shock and awe about the forced birth scene.
Yes, that was tough to watch too.
Well, if you live in Texas, that was like, hey, look, she's actually getting medical attention.
That's a Thursday night in San Antonio.
We're not even allowed to do that in Texas. Now you just go home and suffer.
Wait,
And
they
you
sterilize
carry
that knife? Wow,
Yeah.
they're putting on airs. They're all fancy there.
I am looking forward to seeing where this is going, how many seasons there will be, and it should be interesting. It should be entertaining. I will keep watching it.
All right.
I finished Peaky Blinders.
And
Great show. Some people were able to predict everything that was going to happen in the show, 2 episodes before it happened. I'm not that person.
No.
I enjoyed the ride. I waited for things to unfold. There's going to be a movie in 2024 or 25.
okay.
Seems really, a long wait. I probably won't care anymore when that happens. I'll see it anyway. But great 6 seasons. Kudos to HBO or Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whoever.
One of those.
The Peaky fucking Blinders.
And I also watched episode 1 of She-Hulk on Disney Plus. Did not catch episode 2. It's okay. I don't think you'll like it, personally. I mean, I know you're not a huge Marvel fan to begin with, but I thought it was funny. They're going with a more of a humorous angle to it, so I'll probably watch it. It's like half-hour episodes, so just a little brain candy, if you will.
Enjoy it.
All right, well, let's
All right,
wrap
sir.
this up. Let's get ready for After
Pajama
Dark.
party.
We will be
party.
a pajama party where we let you come on. We've got a great Can You Beat Ron? I don't know the topic yet. We will all find it out together, but we will start that up in 20 minutes. So if you want to join us, hop on over to ronandbrianpodcast.com. Upper right-hand corner. We do have a new Patreon subscriber since the last pajama party, so hopefully she will be joining us and seeing how much fun her subscription brings.
Yes.
Anything else before we wrap this up, Brian?
Not at all. Thank you,
All right.
everybody, for joining. It means the world to me. Just be good towards each other.
All right, Patreon subscribers, we'll see you in a little bit. Everybody else, we will catch you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again.